So, hello and welcome. This is tips on how to become a manifesting machine. This is my absolute favorite thing to talk about because it's really exciting for me. I used to be I occasionally would manifest something amazing in my life, and then I figured out the exact formula on how to be a manifesting machine. And I now teach people the quantum physics and neuroscience about being a manifesting machine, like what we're going to talk about today. So this is my favorite thing to talk about. So the purpose of this presentation is to learn the secrets and the science behind manifestation. Hint, hint, we're actually manifesting everything all of the time. And you're manifesting exactly what you believe that you deserve. And you know what you deserve because it's whatever you have in your life right now. So I'm going to teach you the secrets and the science behind manifesting so we can go ahead, and if you want to manifest more or better in your life, you will have the tips and tricks and tools to do so. We're going to debunk the myths around manifestation because there is one main source of popular media information around manifestation. And unfortunately, they have done a disservice to us in not giving us the complete picture. So I'm going to debunk the myths, and I'm going to teach you the step by step protocol on how to manifest. It's actually just 4 steps. But before we even get into manifestation, we're going to lay some groundwork in the neuroscience and things like that. And my name is Kitty Coy. I have a neuroscience degree from CU Boulder. I actually worked for 10 years as a behavioral neurophysiologist, which means I studied how the structure of your brain affects your behavior and how your behavior actually affects and changes the structure of your brain. After 10 years and I was a bench researcher, a clinical researcher, all of that. After 10 years, I decided I really wanted to support people in day-to-day improvements in their life. Research is amazing, but I might have to wait 2 to 10 years. There's research I walked away from 15 years ago that they're still publishing things all the time. So there's a long lag time. And so I shifted into coaching. I am a magnetic mind coach. So I really help people get clear, crystal clear on the vision that they have in their heart. What's their heart's deepest desire? And I use neuroscience tools to help them get there. And then neuroscience based tools to release the resistance, which could be fear, self doubt, procrastination, unworthiness, whatever it is that's preventing us from actually stepping into our vision. We use neuroscience based tools to get rid of that because when you can get into action on your dream, you take one step on your dream. And if there's no resistance, your dream takes 1,000 steps towards you. So I really love being able to support people in this process. And it is absolutely, even though it's science based, it feels very magical what people are able to create in their lives. So that's what my passion is every day, is helping people in that. I have lots of certifications in meditation, mindset, NLP, super conscious recoding, on all sorts of things to just support me in this process. And I kind of came to them all independently, and everything was all tied together very nicely in a bow. And I found Magnetic Mind Coaching 4 years ago. And I shared a little bit about this, but I am a manifesting machine. And I I used to just manifest my worst nightmares in the beginning. And I was kind of raised with the prepare for the worst and hope for the best philosophy. And I found time and time again that the worst, whatever I was, the worst thing I was preparing myself for, was happening again and again and again in my life. And so I went through this very interesting journey of trying to figure out and untangle that. And really, you're going to learn today about how that was happening. I was just investing a lot of energy in an outcome I didn't want to happen. And so when I started to get clear in, well, what is it I want to create, and using these neuroscience based tools, I started manifesting amazing things into my life. And so in just the last, I think it time keeps going by so fast it's hard to keep up, but in the last about 3 years, I've manifested 10 of my lifetime bucket list achievements, including publishing a book and becoming a best-selling author, hiking the Inca Trail. I opened a wellness center. You'll hear all about that today. And I have just manifested all of these things with so much ease. And it's really fun because I have learned this protocol that we're going to talk about today. So I just wanted to give you a little uh, starting point of where I am and how I am very, very passionate about talking about this subject. Before we get started, I would love to talk about the definition of manifesting so we can just get on the same page with that. Manifesting is simply bringing your thoughts, like focusing your attention and your awareness so thoughts can become things in your life. And things, it doesn't have to be a tangible thing, it could be a beingness state. It is just the effort of focusing your thoughts to bring them to life. And I love this quote from Albert Einstein. This quote's like 80, 90 years old. He said it in like the early 1940s, I believe. Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. If you can match the frequency of the reality that you want to create, you cannot help but get that reality. This is not philosophy. This is quantum physics. And so, yeah, everything is energy. And Albert Einstein, I trust him as an expert in quantum physics. So if he says everything is energy and he's talking about manifestation, I can trust him on that subject. So let's talk a little bit about the science of manifestation. Everything is energy. We've established that. And if everything is energy, then each thought, each belief, each emotion, and your attitude in general, each of those is creating a specific energy. And you have about 80,000 thoughts a day on average. You can have tens of thousands of beliefs. There's about 126 emotions that you can cycle through, each emotion many times in a day. And we each have one general attitude. Putting that all together, all of your thoughts, all of your emotions, it actually, because it's creating an energy, it actually creates this energetic field around you. And this field has been measured. This picture is thank you to HeartMath. Finally, science is catching up with the things that have, different people have been saying for years and years and years. So this is your auric field. This is your energy field. Ayurvedic medicine has been talking about this for centuries. Now we can measure it with science. And so the shape of this field is called a torus. And a torus, it's basically like a giant donut where you're in the center of the donut. And this field is literally created by your beliefs, your thoughts, your emotions, and your attitude and energy. So you're projecting those around you to create this field. So HeartMath proved and can measure this field. Most people's field is 3 to 6 feet. Bigger energy people sometimes have bigger energy fields. When I had my field measured, I was at about 15 to 16 feet each direction of my body. So not only am I abundant in energy, like I have vitality and I'm jokingly called an energizer bunny, I actually have a large energy field too. So it really depends on how you, like, who you are and how you hold your energy field, but it's quite interesting. And this energy field is actually what we call your super conscious mind in this type of psychology I work in. So your super conscious mind is this energy field with all of your thoughts, all of your emotions. You can actually store memories in this field. It's quite interesting. And this is how people can have the telepathy is the word we use for it, but experiences. And I had a really fun one this weekend where someone was telling a story and I was writing an example in the notes. They were talking about a woman named Jenny. And I wrote in my notes, just without thinking about examples, I was like, Jenny is in her 30s and she's an accountant in her 30s. And the next thing out of that woman's mouth a couple minutes later is Jenny is an accountant in her 30s. So what was happening is that thought that she was having was being projected into her energy field, and I was just receiving that energy from her field. So it's quite interesting how this is all just your super conscious mind, and it's a level of your consciousness. So I'll explain a little bit more what I mean. You've probably seen this iceberg analogy around consciousness. And the ice above the iceberg is your conscious thoughts, and it's very small compared to the ice below the iceberg. Your conscious mind is a lot of things, but for the purposes of this presentation, we're going to focus your conscious mind is your thoughts. And then the ice below the iceberg is your subconscious mind. And this is your autonomic nervous system, your body language, your personality. There's so many things in your subconscious mind. For the purposes of this presentation, I'm going to call it your emotions and your beliefs, because those are the biggest things that are living in your subconscious. Your emotions are subconscious, and you can become aware of your emotions, but the emotions live in the subconscious. And then all of your beliefs that you hold are in your subconscious. And this new part that you've never probably seen before is the superconscious. And this is the water around the iceberg. And your superconscious mind is what creates all of the results in your life. And it takes instruction from your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. So if you say, let's say, I want abundance, and you're very practiced in living paycheck to paycheck or being in a place of scarcity, you are out of alignment in these two places. And if the superconscious mind is taking instructions, it's like two people in a cab yelling left, right, left, right. When you're out of alignment, the superconscious mind doesn't know who to listen to. So it just defaults to your subconscious mind. And that's how you are recreating the results again and again in your life. You literally are, whatever you experienced in the past, have you noticed that those patterns tend to show up again and again in the future? And that's simply because if you're out of alignment, the superconscious defaults to the subconscious because you've survived it before. So when I'm a manifesting machine around door prizes and raffles. I win them at a really high rate. And what happens is I'm in alignment. I consciously think, ooh, I can win, or I want to win this. And then my beliefs and emotions are in alignment because I've won in the past. And all it takes is one experience of winning. And then you have a belief that I can win raffles. That one experience I had has put me in alignment. And so now I think I can win. I believe I can win. And the super conscious is what, like, let's say my business cards in a fishbowl or something. The super conscious, because I'm in alignment, will actually take that business card and wiggle it into people's fingers so my name gets chosen. So the super conscious is what's creating all of the results in your life. So now let's get into the quantum physics around manifestation. So these pictures, I just want to share before I even get started. These pictures are on the same level of magnification. They're actually different. It's not like this one is really, the non-observed is zoomed in. Same level of magnification in these pictures. I'm going to just very briefly describe these two quantum physics principles that explain how manifestation works. And this one is the double slit experiment. They did it in 1927, and it's so fascinating. They have been continuously studying the double slit experiment for the last 97 years because the results are so profound, and they're working to understand the edges of how and why it works. So basically, and again, I'm giving you the Cliff's Notes version of something that could have tens of thousands of pages written on it. So, and probably already does have that. They had a machine that fires individual electrons through a sheet of gold, and the sheet of gold either had two slits onto a piece of photo paper. And they started this electron firing machine, and then the scientists went to lunch. They came back, and the electrons looked like this wave pattern here, where there's a lot more color in the middle, and then there's bands of color indicating it went through in a wave pattern, because they're trying to understand what the shape of an electron is, or the principles of an electron. And so, like any good scientist, what they did is they came back from lunch and they repeated the experiment while they were watching. And then all of a sudden, the electron showed up in a particle pattern and went through just one slit again and again and again. They didn't understand, and that's why they've been repeating this for 97 years, because when a conscious human is at the moment of the machine working, a conscious human is watching it, it shows up in this pattern. And if no one is watching it, it shows up in this pattern. So they did things like they had a camera watch this electron firing machine. And if someone was on the other side of the camera watching through the camera, it showed up in the observed pattern. If only the camera is watching and somebody, watches the tape later, it showed up as this not observed pattern. If an animal watches the electron machine, it shows up as this not observed pattern. The point of this experiment and why it proves that manifestation is real is electrons actually they act differently when they're consciously observed. So this means that your consciousness is affecting, or the consciousness of the scientist in this experiment, your consciousness affects matter and actually changes the outcome. And so our mind can actually change things outside of us, because just by watching this electron, the pattern of that the electron followed was different. So that's just the most important part. And like I said, I could go on and on and on about this. Your consciousness affects matter and actually changes the outcome. So why is that important? In manifestation, it's basically saying, if you observe your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors, you can actually change the outcome of the results, the things that are happening outside of you. If you can shift your consciousness about that thing, you can actually change the outcome. And I don't have time to get too deep into stories, but I have so many stories of this happening in my real life. I had a situation where my sister-in-law and I weren't seeing eye to eye, and I was perceiving her in a certain way and she was perceiving me in a certain way. We weren't, it just, I can only speak for myself. It just wasn't the most positive. And I shifted my consciousness. All I did was shift how I thought about her. She was highly competitive with me, and I was taking it very personally. And so instead of, when she was, I was perceiving her as one-upping me, and I just switched my thoughts and said, what if I can just see? And I was like, wow, look how passionate she is. And all I did was shift my thoughts. And our relationship, she actually started to respond to me and interact with me differently. Like I created a different outcome in my life just by shifting my thought and emotion around this. Because again, I mentioned this in the example earlier, we can actually feel other people's thoughts. We just aren't consciously aware of it. So observing your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors changes the outcome in your life. The second scientific principle, quantum physics principle, that explains manifestation, Einstein famously is quoted as calling quantum entanglement spooky action at a distance, because still to this day, we don't understand how it works, and it defies all known laws of physics. And by the way, there's Newtonian physics that you learned in high school or college, and then there's quantum physics, which, I mean, you may have studied quantum physics, but they're different schools of thought. And basically, quantum physics was created because Newtonian physics, when you took it down to the size of an atom, none of the rules applied anymore. And so they've had to create this new form of physics to explain this. So talking about quantum entanglement, basically what they did is they had an experiment where they had two particles that were connected to each other, and they moved the particles away from each other, and they did something to affect one, and instantaneously the other one was affected as well. And again, there's no known mechanism between how this works. And then they got crazy with it. These two entangled particles, they actually took them to opposite ends of the earth. And so the fastest known thing we understand in quantum physics is the speed of light. And they took these things to the ends of the earth, and it should have taken minutes for the signal. When you affect one particle, it should have taken minutes for the other particle to be affected. And yet that particle was instantaneously affected in the exact same. Particle B was affected instantaneously as the exact same time as particle A, in the same way. So somehow these particles are connected and talking to each other and instantaneously changing one another. And so why does this matter? Is you and your desired outcome are two entangled particles. You're dreaming this dream, and when you dream your dream, the dream is dreaming you back. So you are connected to all of your dreams, your desires, everything you want to create in your life. So when you adjust yourself, you become conscious of your thoughts, you affect things in your life, you can either increase or decrease the likelihood of that thing happening in your life because you're entangled particles. So again, this is just a snapshot of the quantum physics behind this. If you ever want to talk quantum physics, I'm happy to get into this a little bit deeper. Now that we have the principles of quantum physics, I'm going to talk a little bit more bringing this and how does it exactly tie into manifestation. And energy, everything is energy, and energy attracts energy. And you probably already know that because energies naturally align with similar energies. Have you ever found yourself in a room and you strike up a conversation with someone and you have a lot of things in common with them? Well, that's not coincidence. You were unconsciously attracted to that person. And what's very interesting is, like, I've had different periods of my life. Like, there was a period where I was in a more depressed and somber and like grieving energy. And I attracted a lot of grieving, somber, lower energy people in my life. And when I'm in these high energetic states, I tend to attract people that are high energy. So energies naturally align with similar energies, and like attracts like. And again, it's not what's doing the energy, or sorry, what's doing the attracting is your energetic field. When I was in that depressed place, I was having, I was experiencing grief and like depression and all these things. I was putting those emotions, those thoughts, that energy into my field, and I was attracting things with a similar vibrational energy. So again, it's your energetic field that's doing the attracting for you. And your energy field is dictated by your subconscious beliefs and emotions. And so again, it's your beliefs and your emotions that's attracting everything in your life. That's why I said earlier is you attract what you think you deserve, and you know what you unconsciously believe that you deserve because it's whatever you have in your life right now. And another great example of this is, and I hear people say things like Murphy's Law all the time. Murphy's Law is just a phrase we use to describe this phenomenon, but there's no Murphy, there's no law. What it is when you have an energy, like let's say you're having a really good day, you wake up on the right side of the bed, you just feel good, you have like, you then are, when you're driving around, you are then like hitting every green light, you get a great parking spot, somebody gives you a compliment, you're feeling good, you have a great day. And the same is true when you're having a bad day, when you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and something like the hot water heater runs out of hot water in your shower, and then you're having a negative day, and then you spill coffee on your shirt, but you can't change your shirt because you're in the car, you hit traffic, you hit every red light. We're literally have in our energetic field attracting things that reinforce, because your subconscious has two jobs: to keep you alive and to prove you right. So when you have an energy of like, I'm having a bad day, your subconscious is putting that energy out, and your superconscious is like, okay, great, I'll just give you a bunch of things to prove you right that you're having a bad day. So you are actually attracting those things to you. So I think it's quite interesting, and we've all experienced this in our life. Again, Murphy's Law is not real, but if like attracts like, then love attracts love. So this is the frequency of the emotions as mapped out by Dr. David Hawkins. This is the map of consciousness. This image is from a book called Power versus Force, which is an amazing book. And basically, I don't have time to get into how he found this out, but this is the frequency that each emotion can be measured at. And so you'll notice that each emotion has a specific energy level, and lower level emotions are less desirable emotions, ones you want to spend less time in, and higher level emotions have a higher frequency number. And when you're in this higher frequency number, you actually attract better things to you. I'll never forget this. When I first met my husband, I was absolutely head over heels in love, and just everything in my life was going really well. I was searching for a new apartment. I found the perfect apartment in a heartbeat. My job was going great. I was attracting fun people in my life. Every single area of my life was going so smoothly and positively because my vibration and my energy field was 500 because I was in love. And so I was attracting vibration level of 500, which is these higher level things. I was attracting them into my life. And so whatever vibrational, whatever emotional level we're at is what we're going to attract more of. And here's what's very interesting is gratitude is the highest measured emotion. It actually is measured at 900. It's not illustrated in this chart, but it talks about it in the book. The level, the beingness state of gratitude is 900 on this frequency level. So if you're experiencing these negative emotions and there's negative emotions that you don't want to be spending a lot of your time, because there's no negative emotion. If you had a death in your life, it's important for you to go through grief, or like all emotions have a time and a place. And when you're done feeling that emotion, the key to raising your emotional frequency is gratitude. And that's why things like a gratitude journal can be so powerful, because what it's doing is it's literally, for the 5 minutes you're focusing on journaling about gratitude, you're up at the level of 900. And then you may dip down and like you're in a place of grief, then you're dip down to 700. But the more you practice gratitude in your life, you actually start raising your emotional vibration. So I just wanted to share that gratitude is the highest level emotion you can hold. The more you can practice gratitude in your life, the better off you will be when it comes to emotions and what you're attracting in your life. And now to the actual stuff about manifesting. So there is one big myth about manifesting that movies and books like The Secret have really created this image that all you need to do is have positive thoughts. And when you have positive thoughts, you will bring positive things into your life. And although it's true that when you have positive thoughts, you are actually creating the energy field, you're putting out into the field positive things, you're in the vibrational state of, gratitude or love or whatever that emotion is. But if you don't take action, you will not create, or it's very unlikely you'll be able to attract and create what you want in your life. And so, like, let's think about it. If what I want is a lake house, and I spend 10 years sitting on my couch, meditating and visualizing and, being in this energy of gratitude and dreaming of this lake house, but I never go look at houses, it's very unlikely that no matter how long I sit there, someone's going to walk up and just hand me keys to a lake house. I need to take action towards my dream of whatever it is I want to create. And the picture is actually my husband and I in front of my clinic, and that's my real life story example of when you get into action, it is amazing how things come into your life. So I had a dream for 4 years to be to open a wellness center. I had done a lot of like release the resistance through visualization. I was crystal clear in what I wanted and all these things. And I had this vision. I was visualizing every single day of my dream. I never took any action on it because I was like, well, I don't have the money. I don't know how. I was holding myself back from taking action. And I had a coach come to me at one point and said, well, Kitty, if this is your dream, why aren't you taking action on it? And I gave her a laundry list of excuses. And as a frame of reference, this was May 2020, where I was living. Wellness centers were just barely opening up from being shut down in the pandemic. It was this whole big thing. So I was like, well, I'm not going to open a brick and mortar. I don't even know, like, we don't know what's going to happen. And I don't want to start paying rent on a place and all these things. She looked at me and said, that's a great list of excuses. What action are you going to take? So she gave me 2 weeks to figure out an action I could take on my vision. And I sat with it, I meditated on it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have a lot of project management experience. And I was feeling for all my health and wellness workers in my area that were having to do all this PPE and plastic and gloves, all these things that they had never done before, and change how they were interacting with clients to keep them safe, to, prevent the spread of COVID. And I had this thought, I was like, oh my God, I could use my project management experience and I could support those wellness practitioners in their clinic and basically do a trade. I could do the project management for whatever PPE, protective equipment that they needed. And in exchange for mentorship in how does sales tax work? How do you work with scheduling? Like, what does that look like for you and your wellness center? And so I sat down and I said, okay, if I was going to manage somebody else's clinic, what would I want? I made a short laundry list of all of the things that I wanted to create. I wanted it to be within 14 minutes of my house. I wanted it to be 3 to 5 hours a week. And I wanted somebody to really like want to mentor me, not just tell me how to do things, but like willing to teach me and support me. And so I wrote that list, and the action step I decided to take was like, well, if I want to manage somebody's clinic, I need to find a clinic. Well, what do I do? I'll write a resume. I'll start working on a resume that demonstrates my project management experience. And then, I don't know, start delivering it to wellness centers within 15 minutes of my house. I didn't really have a step two, but that was kind of where I was going with that. 3 to 5 days later, I found myself in a connect, just a one-to-one meeting with another person. And I was talking to her and I was like, well, how can I support you? And so she says to me, she's like, well, I'm moving to Arizona in about a month and I don't know what to do with my wellness center. Do you know anyone who wants to manage a wellness center? It's like, maybe, tell me more. And she proceeded to tell me the laundry list. It's 14 minutes from your house. It's an absolute maximum of 3 to 5 hours a week. And I would love for this person to eventually take over the space. She was going to, slowly move her clinic over a period of years from Denver to Phoenix, Arizona. And so she wanted to keep her in-person clients there and see them remotely and things like that. She's like, do you know anybody who fits that? I was like, oh, it's me. Like, I do, and because I had been working on this resume. And I was like, yes, I want it. She was like, great, you're hired. That's it. Yeah. I took one step towards my dream, which was to write a resume. And my dream, literally, somebody handed to me on a silver platter the location, the equipment, the furniture, the clients, the like everything was just handed to me on a silver platter. Like I said, when you take one action step towards your dream takes 1,000 steps towards you. The most interesting part of the story I want to highlight is it doesn't need to be the right action or the most effective action, because I wrote a resume. That woman hired me on the spot. She didn't, we had met a couple times before. And so she knew me well enough. She never asked to see my resume. So that the action step I took, no one saw that resume. That wasn't the action step. And I'm saying this because I think a lot of us get hung up in it needs to be the perfect action step that's going to be the most efficient way. This is the way I'm going to get my dream. This is the how. You don't need to know the how. You just need to get in action. And I simply took the best action I could think of in the moment. And exactly what I wanted was handed to me on a silver platter. And that is what's so amazing about manifestation, because I had worked to release the resistance. And yeah, you're saying it's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. When you take one step towards your dream takes 1,000 steps towards you. So now we're going to get into the 4 major challenges that we face around manifestation and how to address each of these challenges. So and these are in no particular order. These are just 4 challenges that we face. And we get really attached to either the outcome or the path. So I really want, when I first wrote my vision, I was like, hey, I want this, and I want a wellness center. It's going to have 6 rooms and the walls are going to be blue. I'm going to make them blue, like whatever. It was this laundry list of things. And when we get so attached to the specific outcome or the specific path that we're taking, we actually block that dream from coming to us, because basically we like create this impossibly tall order, so the universe, our energy field, can't deliver on what we want because we've made it far too specific. And my story of how I got too attached to the path was actually around my manifestation power statement for a long time in my business was, I want to make more money in my business. I want more abundance to come through my business. And I was so attached to the path of abundance coming to me through my business because that's how I make money. It was like, how else was I going to make money in my life? It seemed so obvious. And my attachment to that path meant that I was blocking abundance coming to me in every other way. and really hyper focused on just abundance coming through my business. So I got really clear. You're going to hear about the story of Greece. I'm going to tell you more as we get through. There's a specific event I want to go to in Greece. I've been dreaming of it for 14 years. Everything was getting ready in 2023, and financially, when we were looking at the numbers, we're like, oh, we were not able to go this year, and I was devastated. I really wanted to go, and so I started working on my own manifestation of abundance because I am committed. I am clear. I'm going to Greece. And so I started getting more general and vague and open to the idea of how can I create this abundance. So I actually changed my manifestation power statement to I am creating more abundance. End of statement. It could come through my business. It could come outside of my business. I didn't care. I was just when we priced this trip out, it's going to be $6,000 to $8,000, and I just said I'm going to generate $6,000 to $8,000. I don't care how it comes or what happens. And this magical thing, when I let go of the making more money in my business, abundance started to flow to me in the most unusual and unique ways. And I would find it started with like, a penny on the street. And then I found hundreds of dollars on the street. Literally, I found 600 something dollars in the street in a span of 8 months, just walking around neighborhoods. And people started just giving me money for no reason. And I had somebody in the most unique ways. And I was a nod that it was manifested money because I kept getting $300. Like, for example, I was talking to someone, they knew I was a speaker and they're running this amazing thing. They're like, I want you to facilitate this project, whatever. I want you to be an on-staff speaker. I'm working on writing the grant for something that's going to open in 2025 or 2026 if I get the grant. And right now, I'm going to give you a $300 retainer so that you come speak for my group in some number of years. I know well enough to say thank you. And of course, I'll fulfill on that. It was just strange how money started to flow to me in these very unique ways, because I let go of the attachment that money had to come through my business. And of course, money actually started flowing a lot more in my business when I was just open to receiving. Because when we're so attached to the specific outcome or the specific path, it's as if we're ordering in a restaurant, but we're not trusting the wait staff. We want it to be done so particular. We follow, like, I want a Western omelet, or no tomatoes, add mushrooms with a fruit cup. And then we place that order, and then we follow the wait staff into the kitchen. And then we're telling this guy, the universe, how to make our omelet for us. And that's when we are so specific. So when we can let go of that and just trust that whatever we're going to get is going to be what we want, or even better still. Yes. So you want to be clear and specific, but not so overly specific that it has to be exactly the way you think. Because remember my clinic story, what I wanted was someone to mentor me. And I got even better still when I let go of the outcome of what that looked like. I literally got something even better still, which is they handed me the actual clinic to open myself. So that's why every time I'm working on manifesting something, you want to be clear and specific without focused on the how of it's coming, and always leaving space for this or something even better still to show up in your life. The second way that we block ourselves, and this is actually where I find most people get stuck in manifestation, is it's not actually a real desire that we're creating. If you want to manifest something, it has to be a real desire. And a real desire simply means it's something you want because you want it. And most people want something because it's going to get them something else, or you can only manifest from a neutral place of I choose to create abundance. But most of us are living in I choose to I want to create abundance because I'm sick of being broke. That means you have a negative charge, and you want the money because having money is going to get you away from something you're trying to run away from. Or we want abundance because we think it's going to change us. When I get abundance, then I'll be successful. Either way, abundance is not a real desire in that situation, because you want it for a means to an end. So a real desire is something you want because you want it. And that's why I was so successful in manifesting that trip to Greece. I wanted the trip to Greece because I wanted the trip to Greece. There was no secondary intention behind it. So ask yourself, in whatever you're manifesting or wanting to create more of in your life, what is that going to get you? because most of the time people are like, oh, when I get this, then I can whatever. And if you're saying when, then you automatically know it's not a real desire. And I'll share this because I would say 99.9% of people that have ever I've talked to about manifestation, money is something that they want. Money is a vehicle. Money is not a destination. We don't want the money because we want a swimming pool of money to swim in. We want money because of what money's going to get us. Money's going to get us travel. Money's going to get us security. Whatever that is, it's whatever the money's going to get us, that's your real desire. And I alluded to this a little bit, but the biggest thing is we get stuck in this problem-solving mindset. I want abundance because I'm sick of being broke. And this problem-solving mindset actually it exists in many countries, but the United States is actually founded on a problem. What was the problem? Over taxation from England. How are we going to fix it? We're going to throw tea in a bay. We're going to have a revolution. So our country is like, on our culture in America is very fixated on solving problems. Here's the problem: when you're a problem solver, everything's a problem. When you're a hammer, everything's a nail. And so most of the time, I would say 100% of the people that have come to me that they want to manifest something, they're trying to move away from something they don't want. Most of the time, it's like, I want abundance because I'm sick of being broke. And so again, money, abundance in that scenario is not a real desire. And what happens is when you're trying to move away from something you don't want, it's as if you're holding something, away. Oh, I don't want that. You've actually created a tension relationship with that thing. So it will follow you, whatever you're trying to get away from. It'll follow you everywhere you go because you've created a relationship with the thing you don't want, which is what I was doing when I was manifesting, my worst nightmares in the beginning. I was creating a relationship to the thing, trying to move away from the things I didn't want, and they would follow me and happen again and again and again. And so we get so focused on the problem, we can't even see like that. We can't even see what we actually want to create. And again, it sounds like, when I fix this, then I can whatever. When I lose the weight, then I can take the boudoir photos. When my kids move out, or when my kids go to college, then we can travel. Like, if you live in a place where when something happens, then you can have something else, you automatically know that you're in a problem-solving mindset, and you can never manifest from a problem-solving mindset. You can only manifest from a conscious creation mindset. So how do you get in a conscious creation mindset? You get clear on what you want and why you want it. So digging into what is it you actually desire, and what are the reasons why you want it. And if it's anything, again, if it's anything more than I want it because I want it, that means you're not in a real desire. And so once you do that, that's what you do. You do it one time, figure out what is your why behind what you want. And then this is a daily practice. You visualize it. Because when you visualize something, you're thinking about it, you're projecting that energy into the field, you're getting into the emotions of it, you're projecting that emotion of already having it into the field. And again, like attracts like. So every single day when I was working on that Greece vacation, every single day I was visualizing in my mind. And you want to sensorize and put senses and emotions to it as best as possible to be a powerful visualization. I was thinking about, laying on the bow of the boat and feeling the boat rock and hearing the waves crash on the sides of the boat, feeling the sun on my face, smelling the salt water, tasting I was like, I don't know, what do they have in Greece? Wine. They make wine. I'm tasting the wine and doing that. And what emotions would I be experiencing on that boat? Gratitude, pride, like being proud of myself, all these things. I'd be experiencing these emotions. I spent 2 to 5 minutes every single day visualizing that Greece trip for over a year. And every time you visualize something, you are increasing the likelihood it's going to happen, because remember, with the double slit experiment, your consciousness affects the results in your life. And a little caveat is, if you find yourself if you're not practiced or in visualization, or you find it to be challenging, I would love to have a conversation with you, because you don't I have a client that cannot play pictures or videos in her mind easily, and she's a very effective visualizer. So you don't have to, there's a misnomer, you don't have to be able to play a movie or see an image in your mind to be able to visualize effectively. So I just wanted to share that I'm able to support you in this. So your daily steps on conscious creation mindset. Once you know what you want and why you want it, you visualize it, and then every day you take one tiny baby step towards what you want to create, because that's when you can start to use consistent compounding action. If what I want is a lake house, and each day I spent 5 minutes, maybe, looking at houses on Zillow, or planning trips to lakes that I wanted to experience, check out, or dreaming of this home and all these things, and then, looking at where's a real estate agent. I'd love to get connected to a real estate agent in the area. Every time you take a little tiny step, you are increasing the likelihood you have it. Like I said, you take one step towards your dream tips 1,000 steps towards you. So all you need to do is visualize what you want and take a little action step to get there. And I want to share, you take an action step every day, regardless of the external circumstances. What happens to us a lot in our dream is we decide, oh, I want to create XYZ. And then something happens outside of us, and life happens or whatever, and then we put our dream on hold. We go fix that thing. When I fix that thing, then I can go for my dream. And the problem is that things will come up, issues, problems, again and again and again, because you're in a problem solving mindset. So it's important to take action on your dream regardless of the external circumstances. And I had a client, her name was Carolyn, and she was in her 30s, and she had kids that had grown up. She was a full-time mom with a hobby business on the side, but her kids were old enough that they were a little bit self-sufficient, and she wanted to be a part-time business owner. And she was like, okay, I'm going to launch my business. I'm going to do a group. She was a hypnotist. I'm going to do a group. It's going to start on this day. And in the span, it was like, I think a couple years, I don't remember the time now. She had 7 major life events, and they just kept happening right after she set that launch date. So like, today is Thursday. Within 7 days of today, if she said, I'm going to launch it on X date in 2 months, within 7 days of the day she committed to that date, she'd have some freak accident or family emergency. Her son broke both of his arms. She was a bonus mom, so she had a custody suit. Her sister got in a major car accident and her car was totaled, needed medical attention. So she was driving her car to appointments, and again and again and again. And I'm not saying Carolyn wasn't manifesting these things, and yet she was orchestrating the timing of her business, because every single time one of these things happened, she put her business completely to the side and said, when my sister is back in health, then I'll go for what I want. And so what happened is she kept putting her dream on hold again and again and again. So because she had resistance on being a part-time, or, stepping into this part-time business. And so she knew that she must have been manifesting the timing of these instances, because it was within like a couple day window each time, again and again and again, over a span of years. And that's why she came and she worked with me, and we were able to get her out of resistance, and to keep consistently taking action on her dream. She was able to successfully launch her business. And where Carolyn went wrong before we started working together is she completely put her business to the side and to focus on this thing. Even when her son broke both of his arms, she could have made one social media post a day. She could have worked with just one client, 1 hour a week. But because she kept putting her dream on the side, she stopped taking action. Was in this cycle that she was never actually making any active progress towards her dreams. So reason number 3, where we don't yet have the identity, or reason number 3, where we're not manifesting, we don't have the identity of the version of us who already has that. We don't know what it's like to have that. So let me tell you about a story about a man and a boat. So this is a real life story from my mentor. There's a man, he was a successful entrepreneur, and he had a lake house, and he really wanted this $250,000 speedboat. Every time he went to go buy that, he would, make a bunch of money, But every time he went to go buy the boat, his car would break down. Something he would save $10,000, $20,000 for down payment, and all of a sudden he would have to spend it. Has that ever happened to you in your life where you're like, I want to do something, I make all the money, and then some freak accident or something outside of your control happens and you need to spend all that money you created? So he was really frustrated. He had been working for 10 years trying to buy a $250,000 really fancy speedboat. He started working with my mentor, and my mentor said, okay, go buy a kayak. And the guy's like, no, I'm not going to buy, I don't want a kayak. I want this boat. And every penny I spend goes towards this boat. I don't spend any, I budget, whatever, all the money goes to the boat. My mentor, very direct person, said, shut up and buy a kayak. Like, this is your assignment. And so the man bought a kayak and went out every single day on this lake. And all of a sudden, totally naturally, things started flowing better in his business. And he was getting more and more business, and he upgraded his kayak, and then he got a little dinghy. And things were flowing better, and he upgraded from the dinghy to a small motorboat. So he went from like a $500 boat to $1,000 boat to a $5,000 boat to a $25,000 boat to a $100,000 boat to his $250,000 speedboat in just 18 months, because he developed the identity of a boat owner on this lake, like somebody who boats on this lake every day. When he had the identity of a boat owner, he was just upgrading it. So how do we develop an identity of what we want to create? We focus on where we have that already in our lives now. So if you're lonely, focus on where do you have love in your life? If you're feeling sick and what you want is focus on where you have more health in your life. And if you're in a place of scarcity and what you want is more abundance, focus on where you already have abundance in your life so you can develop the identity as an abundant person. So our final reason why, and I've already talked about this a little bit, our final reason why we are unable to successfully manifest what we want is we are out of alignment. You need to be in alignment between your conscious mind, your desires and thoughts, and your subconscious mind, your beliefs and your emotions. When you're in alignment, your superconscious, your energy field can attract whatever you want. The problem is we live out of alignment. We want abundance, but we're practicing scarcity. We're living paycheck to paycheck. When we're out of alignment, it's like this fancy fishing poles that break in half. You can't really fish very well if you're trying to fish with two separate parts. You're not going to be able to cast the reel. So when we're in alignment between our desires and our emotions and beliefs, we can create whatever we want. The problem is that traumas and limiting beliefs are preventing us from manifesting because we don't believe that we deserve whatever that is. Or, we have this trauma that reinforces this belief that we're unworthy. So we're unable to manifest that in our lives. So you will get subconsciously what you believe you deserve, not what you consciously want in your life. And so that's why when I work with my clients, I help them release the traumas and limiting beliefs that are preventing them from manifesting. So this is the slide that you've been waiting for, how to start manifesting. Step one is you get clear on your desire. And again, this is your real desire that you want for no reason more than you want it because you want it. You visualize it daily, which again is just about getting into the emotions and the senses of the experience of already having it, because you are creating more of that. You're putting out an energy of that and attracting it in your life. You're also tricking your subconscious mind into thinking you have it now. And your subconscious mind can't tell the difference between a movie, a visualization, and reality. And you know that because when you see something scary in a movie, you jump. So if we can use that phenomenon to our benefit by visualizing things daily, and then releasing the resistance, fear, self-doubt, procrastination, unworthiness, whatever that resistance is that's holding us back. And that's really just saying, getting your beliefs and emotions in alignment with the conscious desires of what you want to create in your life. And then the fourth step is you take action, any action towards your dream. So these are the steps to manifesting. They are very simple steps, but they're not necessarily easy. And that's where I would love to support you in your dream of becoming a manifesting machine. I'm offering a 30-minute coaching session, and this is for people that you may not know exactly what you want to manifest, but you want to manifest something in your life. You don't know the how to get there. So in this 30-minute coaching session, I will actually give you one tip that you can use, employ today to start working towards your dream. And we'll talk about a roadmap of what it might look like to get support from me in the future if it's an aligned fit. I only have a couple spots available because December is filling fast. So you can follow this QR code. I'll drop a link in the chat in a second too. It would normally be $197 for this 30-minute coaching session, but as a thank you for attending today, this is offered to you complimentary. And again, you are already manifesting all of the time. So why not start manifesting your wildest dreams of what you want to create in your life? And I would love to support you in that process. So with that, I'm going to stop the share. Does anybody have any questions? I always love to hear questions, takeaways, like what was the most powerful thing for you? Yeah, Kristen.
So I want to make sure I heard you right though, because the way I act or put my energy out into the world is affecting. So I have a 13-year-old son who is like crappy right now, crappy. So I feel like our energy is just entwined in this crappiness, right? So if I'm changing the energy that I'm putting out, it will affect his energy, correct?
Yes, the caveat on that, and there's a link to schedule the 30-minute call in case you're interested. Yes, and he has to be willing to change and receive that. So you can never, and this
Okay.
is what's interesting, is you can
Right.
never manifest for someone without their consent. Like someone is always, you can, what it's really interesting. I manifest through my husband all the time. You can manifest through people. And the reason why we can manifest through each other is we share the vision, we share the dream, we agree this is where we're going. So things where I was working on abundance, and I didn't tell the story about Greece. In 8 months, or finish that story in 8 months, I manifested $6,000 outside of my business because I was in a group, I was creating this, and some of the things that I was manifesting in addition. Oh, thank you for saying that. I need to update my calendar. So thank you for that. And I'll send the link afterwards. I just got back from vacation yesterday, so I haven't checked. And I updated my calendar with a bunch of spots, but a bunch of people must have booked recently. Oh, yep. Okay, thank you. I'll send that. But the reason I can manifest, when we were working on financial abundance with my husband, he got bonuses, he got all these things that kind of came from nowhere because him and I shared the vision of of creating more financial abundance for this trip to Greece. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't manifest for somebody if they don't hold that vision. You
Perfect.
can always, we are affected. So I work with a lot of women that are very, they're stepping into their intuition, they're manifesting, and then the other people in their lives maybe don't believe in manifesting, maybe have very stuck opinions. And it is amazing how often people in their lives it'll shift and change and evolve as they shift their beliefs, as they shift, because the people in your life unconsciously want to come with you, and it kind of works by osmosis that you're raising their vibration, and so you are affecting the people around you. And if it's something like your teenage son, if he doesn't share that vision of where you're going, what a good relationship looks like, how to interact effectively, you are supporting him, and you might not get immediate results in that because you can't manifest something for him that he doesn't want. Does that clarify and make sense?
Yes. And I'm manifesting for me. So he can either come along or not.
Well, and that's
I
and
mean,
that's where
essentially.
that's what the beautiful thing is like, we invite, when we are making changes and moving and improving things in our life, the people in our life, they want to come along, they desperately want to be with us. And so because we're in their tribe. And so it's amazing when I hear things from clients all the time. They're like, I've been married to my husband for 26 years and he's always had this very hard opinion that he's not okay with me doing XYZ. And then I work with them, they have one session with me and they come back and they're like, you would not believe this, I didn't even bring it up, but my husband came to me and said he changed his opinion and he's okay with me doing that. It's like, yes, because you're
Yeah.
shifting and evolving. She changed her emotional frequency, and she also stopped needing him to do that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he shifted his opinion and opened up on that. Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So
Cool.
anybody
Thank
else
you.
have any questions or want to share their biggest takeaway?
I just love everything about this because that was with all the quantum and the, I could hear some of the NLP in there also. And it was just, I took like, I don't know, 4 or 5 pages of notes.
I love it. That's so amazing. And oh, and I think I figured out, yeah, oops, I made a mistake on my calendar. I updated one type of appointment, not the other. I was listening to you talk. But yeah, isn't it amazing? And that's what like I said, I'm NLP certified, I'm certified in meditation. I've got all these different things that I kind of did independently, and yet they all fit together to give me more information. And yeah, thank you so much, Susie. And I'll send you the link so you can book a call. They all kind of fit together and help support me in having this greater level of understanding. So the universe always works in mysterious ways, how we arrive. And that comes back to oftentimes when we get stuck in manifesting, it's because we want it to be, I'm going to go to college, and then I'm going to get, and this is just an example, and then I'm going to get the perfect job in my field, and then I'm going to do this, and like, not only are we stuck on the order, we're stuck on the how and things like that. And the most amazing things, I was listening when I left neuroscience. I had this strong pull, and I loved neuroscience, but it's something in my gut, my intuition was like, you gotta go, you gotta leave. And I went into health coaching, which didn't make any sense at the time, but it was, and I knew, I was like, well, it's not health coaching. And so then I started working on things. I was like, maybe it's life coaching. I kind of puttered around between a couple different things, gaining all of these tools. And then after about 2.5 years of exploration, found magnetic mind coaching, and it's neuroscience based. And so it's amazing. Not only did I graduate from a 1-year program, and basically I was able to test out of everything. So I graduated in 2 months from a 1-year program because I was able to demonstrate the knowledge. They didn't have to teach me all this background. And if I had gotten stuck on the how, I would have never been here today. So it's amazing. And isn't it just cool how all this stuff is connected?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do have another meeting to jump into that I'm late for, but yeah, this was fabulous.
I appreciate that so much. Thank you so much, Kat, and we'll connect soon.
All right.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, and thank you, Kristen. And Rose, is there anything that you wanted to share or any thoughts that you had? Oh, you're muted.
Bit overwhelmed with what your torrent of expertise.
Yeah, it's a lot to go over in an hour. Yeah.
I've read a lot of this sort of thing, and I know it works. I made some cards with affirmations on, cards of abundance, and I shuffle them, and as soon as I started using them, I found that money started coming in, but it's very small amounts, and they say that you can manifest, if you can manifest 10 quid, you can manifest 100, the sky's the limit. It's my block is that I don't really know what I want. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I would say that is the most challenging thing, is what is it that I want? Because it's like when you go to a place that has 1,000 ice cream flavors, or maybe 100 ice cream flavors is more practical. I can only eat, 1 or 2 scoops of ice cream. How do I pick which one? And so we get stuck in the analysis paralysis of the like, well, but I like butter pecan. Oh, Rocky Road's delicious, mint chocolate chip. So we keep ourselves, and that's a way that we prevent ourselves from manifesting, is just lack of clarity on what it is that we want to create. And so that's something I help my clients with all the time. And so getting clear, I do vision workshops. I do all sorts of things using neuroscience-based tools, different than just your standard vision workshop. I do vision workshops that help using neuroscience-based tools help you tap into your heart's deepest desire, because your brain will tell you logically, oh, you want this, or and maybe you have a nudge that you're like, well, I really want that, but it doesn't make any sense. So your brain will shut that dream down before you can even get there. So that's why I do a neuroscience-based vision workshop. I'd be happy to send you the information if you're interested. The other thing I wanted to share is you are totally spot on with if you can manifest a small amount of abundance, you can manifest a bigger amount of abundance. Here's the caveat though. You will only ever manifest what you believe that you deserve. So to manifest more abundance, you need to raise your belief in the amount that you deserve. And that's what I thought was really interesting. And I was working on actively when I talked about, this Greece trip. I really wanted to fly to Greece, and it was going to be about $6,000. I manifested $300 again and again and again and again and again. And that was the most amount of money I think that came to me at a time. But there were some opportunities that came to me. Like I supported somebody in their business for a weekend. They gave me $575, but that was like, I worked for it, but like magical manifested money that came for no reason. It was always capped at $300. And when I sat and explored that, it was at the time, I only believed I deserved $300. And there's like, there's a lot of psychology around that. So when I worked on that believing, that's when I started to make more and more money. It started by finding a quarter or a penny on the sidewalk. And then it was $100 on the sidewalk, and it works. So as we work on raising our belief level, you're totally right. The sky is the limit. And if you never improve or increase what you believe you deserve, you will keep manifesting the same amount over and over again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I have a friend that really believes in what I do. I read the tarot and I do Reiki.
Yeah.
And he thinks, and the feedback I get from people is that I'm a really good tarot reader, but I can't see it myself. But because he's so convinced and he's cross with me for not acknowledging it, I go along with it. And of course, the more I go along with it, the better. And then I got this client, and she's a millionaire. And she comes to me for a reading. She pays me £50 a time, and she keeps coming back and back and back. And it's amazing. And yet in the last few years, I've only had a few clients. But now I've only got one, but she keeps coming back, and she says, oh, you're phenomenal. You're the greatest. And I thought, well, I don't know why you think that, but okay.
Yeah. And so what's so neat about that is we can actually borrow other people's belief about ourselves. Like we can, like if somebody believes that you can do it, you are more likely to be able to do it. You borrow their belief. And just like you're doing it because you're like, well, I don't want to fight with that, that gentleman that believes that I'm powerful. So I'll just believe it too, And like once you practice that again and again, even when it's the idea, I don't know if you have this phrase or saying where you are, it's a common phrase in America, it's fake it till you make it. It's like you pretend that you believe something until eventually you actually do. Have you ever heard of that concept?
Yeah, and that's the way these cards I made work, really, because as soon as I started using them, I started saying that, oh, I'm thinking differently. These positive affirmations are actually going through my system without consciously saying them. I'm starting to think that way. So
Isn't that amazing? I just absolutely love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it. And
thank you.
And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to send an email shortly with soon with the recording. And I actually fixed as we were sitting here, all I need to do is check a button. So if you're interested in booking a call with me, that link should work now. And then if you have any questions, I'm happy to support you. And then I do other webinars and stuff too. So I'll send all that information in an email later today.
So you're saying there's a 30-minute free
30-minute call with me to talk about how could you become a manifesting machine. So it's specifically the call is for people that would like I'll share, you can talk, what are kind of like what we talked about. You're like, well, I don't know what I want. So I could give you some ideas on how do you get clear in what you want. And you'll get one tip or tool that you can start using today. And then I can help map out the roadmap of like what it looks like to work with me and how I could support you in becoming a manifesting machine.
Okay, well done. It's brilliant work you're doing. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much. I appreciate that. And just, I appreciate your time. And if you want to connect, I would love to do that.
Thank you, Kitty.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Shafayette, I saw you're still on this call and you've actually come to a couple of these before. Is there anything you'd like to share either through the chat or unmute and just share your
I
thoughts?
have.
What you
This
think?
is the first one I've been to. I think I missed the
cool.
others. I got confused.
Well, it's the same talk every time. And so I
Okay.
do it once or twice a month, depending on the month. And
Uh-huh.
so this, you're not missing anything. You got here on the perfect day at the perfect time. I always say that,
Yeah.
and I've noticed in my life that whenever we show up is exactly the perfect time for us.
Okay.
Awesome. Very cool. Thank you so much, Rose.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. And Shafaya, is there anything, I hope I'm pronouncing your name appropriately. I don't know. Please feel free to correct me. Is there anything you want to share or reflect about this manifestation presentation? All right. That's all good. No worries. Well, I'll